Koto. Hopefully we are live on Facebook, and it is my absolute overexcited fangirl pleasure to introduce Bonnie Garmus. Have I pronounced your surname right? I meant to check just before we came on.
Yes, you did.
Should have done that before. So we will be talking for about half an hour, and people watching on Facebook, please put your questions for Bonnie into the comments, because Gareth will feed those through to me, and I will be able to ask Bonnie, who's sitting right here with us. So Lessons in Chemistry, a wonderful novel that I feel has just got all the factors that make a wonderful novel. Essentially about Elizabeth Zott, a scientist in the 60s, when to be a female in the 60s was a difficult thing. Never mind to say, I'm a scientist and I am doing this. And who we know is going to become hostess of a show called Supper at Six, a cooking show like no other. But as they say, it's complicated, you know. But first of all, let's find out about you, Bonnie. This is your first novel, but you've been writing forever.
Yeah, I've been writing a long time. I'm a copywriter, creative director. So that really helped me sharpen my writing over the years. And I have written a couple other, I had one book that I wrote before that I actually still just really love, but I had to, that one got rejected 98 times. I couldn't get anyone to read it because it's 700 pages long. I didn't realize that was the kiss of death. Never, if anyone's a writer, never put in any kind of query letter that you've written a 700-page novel. You get an instant no.
Not going there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth Zott this is not her first outing, is it?
No, she was, so that's another novel. I had started another novel a pretty long time ago, actually, maybe, I want to say 12 or 15 years ago. And she was a very minor character in that novel. And then one day at work, she came zooming back to me. And all of a sudden, I just thought, oh my gosh, I was having a very bad day at work. And she informed me that she'd had a much worse one. So I wrote the first chapter of Lessons in Chemistry that day.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I can just imagine as Elizabeth saying, now, Bonnie.
Yeah, exactly right. That voice.
Yeah, because she has such presence, doesn't she? And so have you met her in real life?
No, I created her because at that point in my life, I really felt like I needed someone to look up to. I needed someone who knew who she was and who never questioned herself and who was just unapologetically herself all the time and who spoke mostly in facts, mostly with things, anything that could be backed up by evidence. That's how she spoke. And, in our world with fake news and all of that, I don't know about anyone else, but I was really hungry for someone who just was honest.
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking of the beginning of the book when we meet. It's kind of in the present of the book, I suppose. So yeah. Elizabeth, she's kissing her daughter, Mad, goodbye, and out she goes, and she'll go off and do her show, record her show, and she writes the little post-it notes that she puts in these perfect lunch boxes that she makes for Mad, and one of them is, I think it was like, most people are awful.
Yeah, I wonder where that came from. Possibly my bad day. Yeah, most people are awful. And I think, I like that, that's her way of teaching her daughter about the world, these little notes that she leaves in her lunchbox. But yeah, she's completely honest with her child just from the start. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, my mom would always say, you have to be nice to the other kids. And Elizabeth Zott's more like, no, you don't have to.
No, that kid's eating your lunch. Let's sort this out. Her perfectly calorific, this is what you need every day lunch.
Exactly.
So it's her resoluteness and her resilience, isn't it? Her refusal to back. Well, it wouldn't occur to Elizabeth Zott to back down.
Right.
Even after everything that can happen to her, she's assaulted in every way. Right. Let's not pull any punches there.
Right.
So there've been women like that then and now for us to get where we are in 2022. So how do we still fight those that are holding us back?
Well, it's a really interesting question. I think even to this day, women have a hard time saying no. A lot of people have a hard time standing up to bullies and to, especially at work where somebody's trying to bully you into doing something or being a certain way. And I think the more calmly and the more successfully and the more frequently we just say no, the better off we'll be. because those people are trying to force you into a mold that benefits them and their particular egos or narcissism or whatever it is. And a lot of these people who are in power are, in fact, narcissists. They don't do well with the word no, but they do need to hear it more often.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. We'll get back to Elizabeth, because I really like the structure of the novel in that there she is, she's going off to do the show. Then we go right back to when she is at Hastings Research Institute and she meets Calvin, and then Mad comes along. So there's all of that going on. But the dog question, let's talk about dogs for a moment.
Okay.
Because 630 is a major character in this book, and he has his own voice, and he has the way that he observes people, and sometimes understands deeply, and sometimes is quite puzzled about what is that for? Yeah. And is the one with the most love in his heart, I would say. So, and I've read your article about Dear Friday when the children were little and you adopted Friday. So tell us about your abiding relationship with the doggos.
Well, ever since I was a child, I had a dog. Actually, I begged my parents for a dog. They said I was allergic, and I decided to prove I wasn't. So they finally got a dog, and indeed I was allergic, but I just hid it until, your body can adapt. So I've always been a big dog lover, and then, I've had dogs throughout my life, but it wasn't until Friday, who we'd adopted from a shelter. She'd been really, really terribly abused. And I don't know, my kids just saw right through to the core of her and said, oh, we've got to bring home this great dog. And my husband and I were like, okay, that is not a great looking dog, but also she smells terrible and she looks terrible and we know nothing about her. But she turned out to be, a combination, I think, of Gandhi and Einstein. And one thing about her that we all noticed right away was that she didn't just go off and lay in a corner. If we were all eating dinner, she was there with us. But she wasn't just there with us, she was watching us. So, you look at her and she'd be already there looking at you. When I was writing this book, and Friday was there with me, I would look up and she'd be staring at me all the time. It's like she never took her eyes off of us. Yeah. And I realized later on that she was picking up language from us, not just the standard sit, stay, come, whatever. She was actually picking up words from us, and she could identify things all the time. And we became very reliant on this dog in lots of ways. I mean, there was a point where we thought, I wonder if she could pick lottery numbers, but no, she wasn't like that. We kind of wish.
Try.
It was worth a try. But yeah, she was just a really remarkable dog. And it occurred to me that we had been underestimating her the entire time. So when I set out to write lessons in chemistry, I knew I would have a dog. I did not think it would have a thinking dog. But the moment 630 started thinking, I wrestled with that a little bit because I thought, people aren't going to buy this. And then I thought, no, this dog has so much to say about how stupid we are, but also about how much he loves us. And I wanted to bring that out in the book.
Yeah, and you certainly did. And I think it's such a wonderful device, isn't it, to take this this non-human to reflect our humanness back at ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
So relationships in the book, six. Somebody's popped up. Is it a spoiler to ask why the dog is called 630?
A little bit of a spoiler.
A little bit, yeah,
It's a little bit. It's his confused. There are a few things he's confused about with humans, and he's confused by this. But then later he decides he understands what it means.
Yeah, absolutely. And your current dog is
99.
99.
I know, it seems like they're related. They're not related at all. 99 is actually named after a friend of mine. That was her nickname.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Poor old dogs. They don't mind what they're called, do they?
Oh, they don't mind.
They have so many nicknames and they recognize all of them.
Exactly.
So 630 observes, and Elizabeth is quite alone and lonely in the beginning of her career, and by the end of the book, we can certainly say that she has met her tribe. So how did you pull all those people into her life?
Well, when I was writing her, I wasn't really sure. People would sort of appear on the page in a way, I kind of write scene to scene, and I needed all these different points of view, and there are 10, to kind of give us a vision of who this woman was. So she was fully rounded. And so everybody has a different reaction to Elizabeth Zott. Some people think she's pushy and annoying. Other people think she's inspirational. Other people love her, but think that she's hurting. It's a really kind of fun to have other people look at her and tell you what they think she is. Mm-hmm. But the whole time you're seeing her completely as she is. So I don't know. I mean, it is true. She was very lonely. She didn't really feel like she had a family. And one of the themes of the novel is found family. I think a lot of us are born into families that maybe don't really fit us. And, actually I came from a very loving family, but I think a lot of people don't have that luck. And one of the points of the book is that, we often think of biology as family. Oh, family tree, DNA, et cetera, et cetera. Actually, family is chemistry. It's who you feel safe with. It's who you feel comfortable with. It's who loves you back. And that love is a very, very chemical reaction.
And can come from the most unexpected of places.
Exactly.
It's the man whose daughter is stealing your daughter's lunch.
Exactly.
And you come together because of this. But we've got the best of humanity in the book, but we've also got, I'm just thinking of when Calvin, we haven't really mentioned Calvin yet. So Elizabeth and Calvin worked together, and he appears to be, conceited, I suppose, because he's full of privilege and he has no idea that he's full of privilege,
Exactly.
They are equally as intelligent, equally as on the right track to make great scientific discoveries, but he's got the big lab and the staff, and she's the one whose ideas are stolen,
Exactly.
So, and when they do fall in love, which isn't really a spoiler because we know that
no, not a spoiler.
Thing at the beginning of the book, and the other staff members, including women, when you think about Mrs. Finch.
Oh, Frask.
Mrs. Frask, yeah. Yes, who is really her Elizabeth's nemesis. The sense of Schadenfreude. They're sitting there in the cafe, just waiting for this couple to fall apart. So, what's that all about?
Well, I think jealousy is a very common human emotion, and I think we tend to make assumptions about each other all the time based on visual clues and nothing else. And if you look across the cafeteria at a couple, that the woman is beautiful and she's sitting with the most important man at the company, the smartest man at the company, and he is not very attractive. Well, what else could it be? She must be riding his coattails. She must be using him. Although, look at him. He won this prize of this beautiful woman. Certainly, they both come from wealthy backgrounds. They both had every break in the world. None of it's true. None of it. They both come from shattered backgrounds. They both come from poor backgrounds. They both had to kind of claw their way to where they are. The difference is that Calvin, as you said, is a privileged white male, and he's very brilliant. What he recognizes in Elizabeth straight away, and what he falls in love with, is her mind. Because for once in his life, he's talking to someone who understands, as he does, science. And so they come together like that. But of course, everybody else thinks it's something else entirely.
Yeah. And Elizabeth is a beautiful woman. Mm-hmm. And so why did you make her so obviously beautiful? Her skin is flawless. She puts her lipstick on every day.
Yeah. Oh, very good question. And I have a very, very good answer for that. There is no way. I had first written her not as beautiful. And then as I was writing the book, I realized there was no way they would have put her on television at that time if she had not been outstandingly beautiful. Mm. Just the fact that she had to have presence. But, it's one thing to know how to cook, but it's another thing to put a scientist on television. There's no way that she would have there were only 2 roles for women back there on television. They could cook or do some sort of housekeeping show, or they could say, and here is what is behind door number 3. And so I knew that she had to be attractive. And I think beauty is its own burden. And I kind of wanted to show that, but also show that she got a job that she did not like based on her beauty, which she really didn't like.
And probably wasn't taken as seriously as she could have been in the job that she should have had. Because
exactly.
Of
yeah.
So Calvin's a rower, and he's been a rower at Cambridge.
Yep.
University, yes. And Elizabeth is like not wanting to be a rower, but then is pulled into that orbit. And you're a rower.
I'm a rower. Yeah. I had to put something in the book that I knew, because I'm not a chemist, I'm not a cook, I'm not a single mom, but I am a rower. So it's there because, one, I didn't have to research it, but also two, rowing requires cooperation and balance. The best boats that row you don't have to be the strongest person. You actually have to be the most balanced and precise person in the boat. And I wanted to kind of put that against the common workplace where people do not cooperate. So in Elizabeth's lab, there's no cooperation. People are competing against each other instead of cooperating and sharing their research and sharing their ideas. And they certainly don't want to hear hers. So, they even steal her ideas. And so I wanted to have that, a boat moves well because all of those 8 people have decided to put their egos on the dock and row as one. But that just doesn't happen very often in the workplace. And I just wanted to show the difference between that.
Yeah. No, I loved those scenes. I don't have any wish to go rowing, but I admired the getting up early and going out onto the misty water, and it was beautiful. Yeah. A question's just popped up here. Can you tell us a bit about your writing process and or routines?
Yeah, I get up pretty early, having been a rower. I'm not rowing right now, but I get up pretty early and I start early because I write best in the morning. And then I write for a few hours and then usually walk the dog. And then I come back in the afternoon and I edit what I've done in the morning. And then I don't know, I work until around 4, and then I usually erg at 4:30. I still erg. It's really not a good thing. But anyway, I do that. And then in the morning when I get up again, well, actually at night, when I'm having a problem in a scene or with the book, I think about it before I go to sleep. I try to say, okay, let your subconscious work on this. And sometimes that's been very helpful and sometimes not at all. But then when I get up again, I re-edit it again, what I've done. I always reread it, and then I might just toss it, everything I've done. Or I might just say, okay, I can see where this is going now.
Just explain to us what I've read the book, so I know what an erg is, but to people that wouldn't know.
Explain what? The
erg.
Oh, the erg. I'm so sorry. Yes, the erg is a rowing machine, and it is pretty much universally hated by rowers. It's what you're tested on. It's what you train on a lot of times when the weather's too bad outside. It's a machine. The reason why it's so hard is because there's a little computer monitor staring you in the face, telling you you're not fast enough or good enough or smooth enough, or you don't have enough wattage at the right moment. Rowing and erging is mostly legs, and most people think it's upper body. It's about 80% legs, and your erg will tell you, oh, I see you're not really using your legs. Your legs should burn on an erg.
You anthropomorphized your erg.
Yes, it is. Yes, exactly. Yeah, but anyway, I still erg. It's a great way to get in shape or keep in shape or whatever. But you do have to learn how. There is a stroke you have to learn. Most people who try and erg don't use their legs correctly, and that's why they think this isn't that hard.
Yeah, well, flopping about, never going to be good in a boat with other people. Yeah. So you've done an absolute ton of media. It was hang on. In the boat race, are you Oxford or Cambridge?
Oh God. You know what? I've been both. I've sort of been going for Cambridge, but I was pretty happy with those Oxford women winning this year. I always watch the boat race. And for me, it's just amazing to see what kind of technique they were using this year to, I don't know, the whole thing. For me, it's just really, wait, did the men win? Now I'm gonna forget. Cambridge is run so often. Anyway, okay, I shouldn't say I have a favorite.
You can if you
I
want.
think they're all tremendous. They're all tremendous.
It must be fascinating watching them when you understand it. You know, for someone that's never been a rower, it's quite a different experience, isn't it?
Yeah. In fact, one of my friends called me during the boat race and they said, look how straight up Oxford's rowing. They're rowing short. And, you know, I was just having this banter. They're rowing short and they're going to win. They're going to win. How is that possible? And it was just really fun. Yeah. Rowers really go into the very nitty gritty details.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's good at something or obsessed with something. So you find yourself at home for a short amount of time. You've just come home from Germany.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what was life like before the success of the book? Because it's a global phenomenon, isn't it? And and how is it now?
Well, it's you know, my life is quite different. You know, I'm a writer. I'm used to being alone. As a copywriter, I had my own business. I was a freelance writer, and I had very steady clientele for years and years. And so I would just be at home writing. Actually, I had an office for a while too, but I'm used to being alone. As we all know, COVID changed that.
Yeah.
And so my husband sits, you can't see it, but just 3 feet away. Now we have a small flat. We sit at the dining room table to work. And he wears these headphones all day because I tend to read everything out loud that I do. But what has happened to me is having to be more in the public light, which has been a learning curve for me. So it's, you know, it's very different for a writer to have to do this sort of thing. But, you know, it's also been really great to meet readers and talk with them about the book and about their struggles at work. I've heard from a lot of readers with direct messages and things. And some of those have been really uplifting, especially women who have decided to do something difficult, or they're having trouble at work and they've decided to go to their boss and say, not you, you know. Yeah. So that has been really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Learning to say the no word.
The no word. Yes.
That's quite like Elizabeth's experience, isn't it? So she's doing supper at 6 and, you know, there's a woman in the audience who's like, well, I've always actually wanted to be a doctor, you know. She's like, well, you go ahead and be a doctor, you know, I told you. And she gets the similar feedback. Has that been, did you feel like you were becoming Elizabeth in some ways?
Yeah, a little bit. It was very unexpected, but yes, a little bit. I've had several messages from people. I got a message the other day from a woman who said, thank you for writing this book. Because of you, I just applied to law school. I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and I'm going to be a lawyer. I work minimum wage job, but not anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. I got another email from a young girl who said, I've always wanted to be a scientist, but the boys at school make fun of me. But now I'm going to carry on. I'm going to be a chemist. So those sort of things have been wonderful.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, your life must have changed in so many ways, but to change other people's lives like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And has the media been, has it been a circus, or are you enjoying it?
Well, you know, there's some things that are quite hard for me. I actually enjoy shows like this because I feel like I'm talking one-on-one with a person, and I can do that. I feel comfortable, but I don't particularly like having my picture taken. I think that's pretty common with most people. So that's been hard. Suddenly people want, you know, they want to take a picture of you. And I think, oh, well, that's unusual, but okay. Yeah. So there are all those sorts of things where you're suddenly, you're just in the public light, which it's my first outing with this. So.
Yeah, and you're getting it. You know, it wasn't just like you wrote a novel that was mildly successful. You know, it's been quite the thing. Are there any? I know it's down to the publisher, but any sort of film deals or anything? Because it would make.
Oh yes. It weirdly and gratefully, it was bought right away before it was bought last. Sold the book in September, October, and by January I had a film deal. So it's being produced by Apple TV. The film company is Aggregate Films, and it's starring Brie Larson. She had asked for an exclusive read. Yeah. And so she attached herself immediately to the book. And with her attachment, the book suddenly gets a lot more attention in Hollywood. Although we had 35 offers to begin with, without Bree, and then we narrowed it down to 8. And that's when Bree said, I would really like to play Elizabeth Zott. So she's been really great.
Who wouldn't? Unfortunately, she's beautiful enough too.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. You probably won't need any makeup at all.
No, not at all. Just the signature red lipstick.
Exactly.
So you've written for many years. So how is because you've written in science journals and things.
Yeah.
Yep. So how is that different to writing fiction?
Well, I was a science writer, but only for 4 years or so. I was working for a science publisher, and I was writing things to sort of put it at a layman's level. But mostly, I am used to, as a copywriter, never ever writing what I know. Everybody always gives writers that advice: just write what you know. I have no idea why people say that. You should be using your imagination, and you should be, that you're a writer. You don't bother with real life. But I also did do research. I bought a chemistry book from the 50s off of eBay and taught myself very basic chemistry. And I didn't do all my research. For instance, I don't really like to cook. I know that seems really odd, but I don't. But I didn't research any cooking shows. I really wanted to create my own show, and I wanted it's very different from what you would find on a television show. So I didn't do any research in that area. But yeah, it is quite different. I love telling a story. Copywriting is all storytelling. All advertising is storytelling. Yeah. It's not that much of a stretch. It's just that it's a lot longer, a lot more pages.
And I love, I really like books where we get dialogue, we get conversations between characters. And I did notice, I just had a flick through earlier on, and there are beautiful passages of dialogue. So you really get that immediacy of what's going on, really get your head in the game. What are you working on now, Bonnie, if you've got any time?
Okay. Well, I've got another novel that I'm working on. It is not a continuation of Elizabeth Zott. It's somebody else. And it's right now it's written in the first person, and it's a man. It's a male protagonist. It's sort of, I tell you more about it, but you know what? The themes are changing as I write it, and so I won't really know at the end. And I tend to rewrite, and so until I feel like I can see the story unraveling in front of me, and once I see that, then it's just straight home sailing.
Yeah. Oh, well, we look forward to that. And we absolutely look forward to the movie. How do you feel about, when you've got favorite books and then someone makes them into a movie, how do you feel about that?
Scared to death.
It can go so well and it can go so wrong.
I think the team I have is pretty amazing. I have Michael Costigan, who made Brokeback Mountain. I have Jason Bateman, who I think everybody in the entire world knows. I have Brie Larson. I have I have Susanna Grant, who wrote Erin Brockovich. She is the main writer. And then there's a writer's room. I have a really, really exceptional team of people. So I'm just having to trust them. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just trusting them.
I think, it's going to be the most amazing thing. So maybe I will.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll see that one. Yeah. Hey, we're just about out of time. So thank you, Bonnie, so much for joining us. I know you've been so busy, and it's been lovely to speak with you. And if you ever come to New Zealand, well, here we are.
Okay, well, you know what? Honestly, I will definitely come. So I really want to visit New Zealand. So thank you so much.
Our PM says we're open for business.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much too. We'll see you again.
Okay, bye-bye.